Hello, I've just finished reading this book. This is not propaganda. Um, Adventures in the War Against Reality by Peter Pomerantsev. This book is really, really interesting. I'd never heard of the guy before. It's got quite a catchy cover, so rainbows, unicorns. Essentially, this is about a lot of things which are very current. One of them being why the truth, why facts now are completely irrelevant, especially in political campaigns. So everybody knows, for example, Trump, President Trump, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, they just say whatever the hell they want. They don't give a damn about the truth. They just spew bullshit all the time. But despite people knowing that, they're very, they just vote them in. So what a president or a prime minister or a leader of a country says has to have no relevance to the truth anymore. People just seem to accept that. How have we got to that stage? Because it's very interesting reading from the perspective of the writer, because he's he's from Russia, and his father was arrested, for example, for writing things which disagreed with the Russian viewpoint. And there's stories in here written by his father which are just really fascinating. I mean, really, really a good read, really shocking and moving stories. But it looks at facts as well. Facts actually still exist. Um, but his first book was called something, it was Nothing is True and Everything is Possible, about how Russia has used false information, has used the media, has used the internet very effectively for decades now to control its people, to misinform its people, to influence people's decisions and their voting behavior. Don't forget, Russia was implicated in the last American elections, and a lot of people say it's a conspiracy and this and that. But if you read this book, you can see how it's very easily possible, and very, very, very likely that it's true, because it used to be the case that if you had more access to facts, more access to information, you could overthrow dictatorial regimes. You could, rise up against totalitarian governments. Um, Knowledge, facts used to be power, but now it's all been turned on its head, so that you've got this whole thing about fake news now. The governments themselves, the people in charge, will manipulate facts. There are factories in Russia, factories they call them, where people create fake accounts on social media and look for people to try and influence. And then when there's millions and millions and millions of tweets and videos purporting facts, which are just conspiracy theories going out, it clearly influences people's behavior. There's the case in here of a newspaper that was set up in the Philippines, um, that the president there, Rodrigo Duterte, didn't like. So he set up campaigns on social media to counter this newspaper, and now they get death threats all the time. Um, you know, in Burma, Facebook has been used to spur ethnic cleansing, mass murder, genocide. It's really quite amazing, and it just tells you how careful we have to be in the real world now to not to be influenced, not to be controlled, because you can be controlled by mass media, you can be controlled by social media, especially. How many times do you see a person and the world doesn't exist because they're just like this on their phone, and everything is their phone. It's really, really, really interesting. Another book I'll give 10 out of 10. Yeah, I'll give this one 10 out of 10. He talks about Ross Kemp interviewing Tony Robinson, Stephen Yaxley, or whatever his new name is, leader of the, I used to be the English defense lead. I may be getting that wrong, but basically just another one of these social media guys who has got a massive populist movement now. He interviews him in prison, and the guy's sitting there crying, but really superbly interesting read. If you want to know anything about the difference between truth and propaganda, I love the title. This is not propaganda. A great read, entertaining, informative, eye-opening, really, really well written. Definitely recommended. Peter Pomerantsev. Um, this is not propaganda. Adventures in the War Against Reality. It really brings you up to date with how the world is working now compared to 20 years ago, and why Russia is so much better at this stuff than the West. The West is now catching up. You've got Trump going on about anything which disagrees with him is fake news, and people would just agree with him. The truth is now irrelevant, because it's all about getting people to believe that you're on their side. There's a massive enemy out there, Anybody who disagrees with you is the enemy, and all of you are part of, the few. For Labour, the few and the many. For Brexit campaigners, another one famous for spewing as much bullshit as they want. The people taking back control. What does taking back control mean? It doesn't matter because it can mean anything. So whatever your viewpoint, if that slogan, you know, makes you think, oh, that resonates with me, taking back control. I don't know what the fuck taking back control is, but I like the idea. I'll vote Brexit. Or with Trump, make America great again. There has to be some kind of fairy tale scenario. Whether it's based on a past that was ever true or not, there has to be a fairy tale scenario to get people to strive towards, regardless of what their differences are. If you can convince them that you are the person to follow, they won't care what you say, what you do, who you kill, who you rape, whatever, because you're one of them, regardless of who they are. It's all about controlling. It's all about populist movements. Make people believe me. Yeah, fuck the people as long as they believe me. It's a great book. I really highly recommend it. I probably offended a few people there, but there you go. I can't remember who said it. Somebody's a great quote. He said, "A lot of people don't like the truth. I love the truth because it upsets a lot of people." I think it may actually have been Lemmy from Motorhead. I don't know. It's worth looking up the quote. Second excellent book of the year, actually, that I've read, and it's still only January. This is not propaganda. Highly recommended. Go out and read it. 10 out of 10.